Now, what is the name of the tour you're on now? You're headlining, right?
Yeah. That's kind of been our whole thing, man. Like, we've had an interesting kind of time touring. It's really been our bread and butter. You know what I mean? And what we did, I set this, kind of line of thinking right when we started. I've never opened a tour, and we've always thought that your name being on the top of the ticket is the most important thing. You're branding, you're teaching the people who are listeners or fans or supporters that you are the main, you're the main ticket. You're teaching them, buyability. They're ready to buy your shit. You know what I mean? So even if I was playing 50-person bars in the beginning, they were still buying a ticket to see Mike Stead, So thankfully, we've been able to continue to grow. But with, implementing that line of thinking early was, I think, important. And if I were to teach young artists something, I would teach them that, because I think that's important. There's a big, kind of facade about opening. I think opening, when you have the right opportunity, don't get me wrong, when you have the right pair and the right fit and the right opportunity, opening for a bigger artist is a great opportunity. But for me, that just hasn't happened. And I think that's also, it speaks to the type of artist I am. It's just, I really can't, even as somebody who really looks around, I have trouble thinking of somebody I fit in perfectly as an opener where it works and it's great for me, it's great for them. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of an interesting little niche that we have, that, I think it's created this kind of interesting lane of touring for me that doesn't necessarily, at least on paper, align with another big artist for me to open, but all in all, it has been a strategy, and all in all, it has been successful for us. The tours these days, to answer your question.
These days, right.
Yeah.
Now, what number tour is this for you, headlining-wise?
7.
7?
Yeah.
Your biggest one to date?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
This is, I don't even know if you know this, but this was our first tour since we went to TV. We had a TV show that aired on Esquire network.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah, so I feel like we just kind of saw a natural jump. Not even yes, in sales and just everything kind of being sold out or pretty much the whole thing, but it was more so a jump in passion. There was a new influx of fans, and they were just very excited. It feels like that's pretty apparent. I always when I go to meet and greets, I always ask them, where are you from? Is this your first show? How, a lot of times they're oh, we saw the show, we became fans. So it's an interesting time for me. I think people are interested in what our next move is going to be. But yeah, this has been our most successful tour, and like I said, I think the touring is what's made us stand out. It's the reason we had a TV show. It's the reason I'm here. It's the reason people like you probably even know about me. It's just because I've been able to amass a pretty big following, especially on the road.
Now, would you say that the TV show has helped with this tour in particular?
Yes, absolutely.
And how did the show come about? How were you pitched that? How did that?
Yeah.
And why even do it? Why even do it now?
Yeah. Well, we the whole thing was very interesting. We had these touring vlogs called "Touring's Boring" online. They're pretty. They're pretty different. They're sarcastic, and you never really see a rapper be sarcastic and goofy about what they're doing. So it's an interesting lane, but I have I have a funny group of friends. You know what I mean? And I knew that the whole way. So what I did was we'd film everything on the road. I have a guy who's a fucking hilarious videographer, and he's always running his camera, and he's always in the middle of the party, and he just got great content. And we would look back at the content, and we realized that it was, a lot of the times it was almost better for us to poke fun at some of the shit that happened the night before. It was a funny angle on what was going on. We weren't very good at touring. We were very amateur. We were fresh out of college. You know what I mean? We didn't know what the fuck was going on. So we just kind of poked fun at it, called it "Touring's Boring," and it was obviously very kind of risque and ratchet. So we caught a following on that. You didn't even have to be a fan of my music, but people would be yo, I see your YouTube shit, that shit's fun, and I could tell they didn't even really like the music, but they fucked with that. And sure enough, we started having production companies reaching out to us, One in particular that was very kind of seemed to be seeing eye to eye with, like, you know, why it worked. I thought it worked because it was lighthearted, but also like we were cool. You know, I felt like there was a likability that was important to the characters and everything. So, long story short, we shot a pilot, and then we held out for about a year. A lot of different networks. First, we thought it was MTV, then VH1, but this Esquire network was the one network that was willing to let us make the show the way we wanted to. Like we were like editing in my living room sometimes. You know, like we really did have a pretty hands-on experience, and that's why, like, I'm so proud of the product. Like, I don't know, if you have time, you gotta check it out, because it's not what you think it's gonna be. I was very cautious about it. I know how cheesy reality TV can be. Like, I'm not oblivious to that at all. And this show really isn't cheesy. Like, I feel pretty confident and saying, like, the coolest of cool people can watch it and be like, that's not cheesy. You know, this is real. This is authentic. Nothing was faked, and that was what we fought for. And I think that's why the show had success. At least in my world, that's why the show was a wild success to the fans. Like, it was a risk. Fans could have watched that and been like, yo, this guy's a cornball. You know what I mean? Like, fuck this. But it was a wild success in that world. Like, everyone, it just kind of, I guess, co-signed their thoughts already of, like, these guys are cool guys, you know. So
when it comes to touring, what's your biggest pet peeve with it at this point? What bothers you the most about it, if anything?
I would just say, like, the monotonous of it. We were talking about it on the way up in the elevator. Like, you can hear my voice. I'm just constantly like in a recovery mode. I'm like a fucking vampire right now. We sleep and then like kind of, you know, make our way through the day, and then at nighttime we kind of come alive and do what we do. But this is, you know, we're talking about 7 months out of the year this year in touring, so it's been a grind, you know. But like at the same time, it's my bread and butter, man. It's how I live, and like I mean, it's a blessing to be able to go on stage and call that your job. I think anybody can agree with that, you know. So no matter how much I think anybody who's doing something or chasing something is grinding. So I really don't feel like that's even really a pet peeve. It's just part of the game. You know what I mean? It's part of if you really want something.
Top 3 road necessities.
For me, it's I would say first, you might be able to help me with this, Jerry. I'd say cough drops for me, because I'm a big, like, you know, I guess let's generalize it and say throat care. Pause. What else?
What kind of cough drops?
Halls. I'm a big Halls guy.
Okay.
But again, I'm gonna generalize it because I got the throat spray really helps, and then like the Dayquil, NyQuil wave. You know, I sound like a dork, but it's important, man. It's important for me. 'Cause, like, Dayquil really turns my day around. I guess I'm not like most rappers are like way more hardcore on the prescription wave, I guess. But really, it's more of for me, it's like a preservative. You know what I mean? Stay healthy. That's probably number 1.
Number 2.
Number 2, I mean, is liquor. And I know those combat each other completely, but we are, like, if you come to a show, I hope you can tonight, but we've created a cool show. It's different. You know, it might not be for everybody, but it's us. We like drinking and the partying and shit. That shit's like almost part of the set. Like it's part of the theatrics of like what you see when you come to a show. So without liquor, I feel like that sounds bad saying, but I just feel like touring wouldn't be the same.
What's your go-to?
Ciroc, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. We gravitated towards it right away. I think it's a flavor. We're known for peach Ciroc because I think it's what helps me drink. Like the flavor of it just kind of helps me get through the monotonous, like the drinking every night. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty good. So Ciroc is probably my main choice, but I'm not a picky drinker either. I drink whatever, man. You see me at the bar, I drink anything.
Have you had a chance to meet Diddy yet?
No, but I know. We had some ties through him kind of behind the scenes, and I know we actually sent him a Ciroc reel because we were trying to get an actual brand for this tour. We were trying to get we just didn't get it in time, but I know he saw it and liked it. It's we just had a funny, kind of like in our sarcastic way, we had a funny Ciroc reel we put together, like me chugging Ciroc in front of like just a bunch of different crowds, and
That seems like an easy fit.
Yeah, he liked it. It was cool. So
Number 3.
number 3. Anything? Can you think of something? What else would I need? I would say hats or my sneakers. Like I'm a big everyday on stage. Like I always wear the merch. You know, I help drive the merch, so I'll wear that on stage. So like getting dressed isn't a thing, but as far as like my one thing I can accessorize and be cool, sneakers and my hats. Hats I wear merch too. So I'd say the sneakers are like I have like 2 big duffel bags I bring. Those are kind of my only real packing duties. But yeah, I'd say that. I don't know. I'm probably fucking that up and missing some things, but those would be my top 3.
Speaking of merch, what's been your most popular item?
You're not looking at it. I got we went with a cool like animated angle. I wish I almost wore it. We had a cool kind of animated angle where it was around the Olympics time. Like the Dream Team was playing when we came up with the idea, and it was kind of influenced by that. But we have like, you remember the old Dream Team caricature drawings of the T-shirt with like Jordan, Magic, all those guys. We did that with like the whole cast of the TV show and like all my cast of characters. And
I think that's on your Facebook.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen it. Yeah.
Facebook banner.
Yeah, and it's kind of like become a thing for us. I would say those caricature shirts have really done well.
First thing you do, absolute first thing you do when you get back to your hometown off the road. Very first thing.
Sleep. I sleep a lot. Like the post-tour, we call it like a post-tour coma. That's like a thing. You go away you go to your wherever your little private time, wherever your peaceful place is, you go, and you go for probably. We see each other for like, we'll see each other in like 72 hours. We'll see him I'll see him in the kitchen like getting water or something, but then we don't really talk. It's like we need like a week, you know what I mean? So that's normally how. I'd say that's the first thing. It's like eating at home, like some of the classics, like either my mom would make or the neighborhood, my old neighborhood, for a couple of my favorite restaurants. But other than that, man, I'm a low key dude. I'm sleeping and recovering.
Now, I don't know if you've seen Diddy. We spoke about Diddy for a second, but I don't know if you've seen Diddy at the BET Awards maybe like 2 years ago. He had a crazy fall on stage.
I saw that.
Now, have you had any stage mishaps yet? Anything
really,
crazy?
You're gonna jinx me on camera like that? There's no wood to knock on, but no, I haven't fallen.
Not yet.
I'm pretty, yeah. That's like I'm like an athlete. You know what I mean? Like I was an athlete first, so maybe maybe that's part of it. It really is shocking because you'll see. If whoever comes to a show knows how wet the stage gets when we're on there, because it's just we're drinking. You know what I mean? We're having a good time. So. The fact that I haven't taken a spill yet is actually, I feel pretty proud of it. I know you brought it up, but hopefully, I'm sure I will. I think you play enough shows, man, and you're going hard enough. I think you're due to fall. So I'm hoping I can keep the run alive, but we'll see.
Now, Ja Rule smacked a fan once for throwing a beer can at him. That was pretty recent. I think TMZ caught that. Craziest fan encounter that happened to you, if any?
I haven't gotten I can't speak for everyone in the room, but I haven't gotten physical with fans. I really try to avoid it. These people are like the reason I'm here. So they get out of hand and they get drunk and they get annoying a lot, and I think that happens to anybody, if you had too much. But we deal with it a lot just because of the, kind of the ambiance of what our shows are like. Everyone's fucked up. So, it's like one of those situations where you just kind of learn how to deal with it. Big man behind you deals with it the most, so he gets the badge of honor for that one. But crazy stuff is more like, kind of just more on like the stalkery side. It's not like a, I beat the shit out of some dude, and it was more like we've had some wild ones, you know what I mean? But I don't know, anything. Yeah, mainly when I was single, our craziest stories were more along the sexual lines and that type of shit. But other than that, man, like I said, without my fan, I know every artist can say this and it's partially true, but for me, I'm independent, man. I don't have a system or a machine behind me. Like, we're not going to radio, you know what I mean? It's pretty much the fans and me and the music and the touring. So I try not to fuck the sanctity of that up.
Now, a pretty big, interesting story that happened this summer, summer 16, was Drake. He had a tour bus incident where some jewelry was stolen off of a tour bus.
Yeah.
Does stuff like that ever cross your mind? I've never really heard of a tour bus incident like that in a very long time, especially from a notable one as high as he is.
Right.
But does, you know, being on a bus, does that ever cross your mind about?
Yeah, it does. We got a big group of guys, so I feel like, you know, very rarely is the bus completely unattended, but really anything, you know, like if that could happen to Drake, he's playing in an arena, you know what I mean? Like it could happen to us. We're parked on the street half the time, so I try not to think about it. And again, our touring, it's a little bit of a different world. It's not, you know, I know in the hip hop world, like there's real risk. Like sometimes there's risk to even stepping off with jewelry and those types of, like I don't feel like a fan is gonna come up and steal, you know what I mean? And maybe that would happen. It doesn't have to be a fan. It could happen, but we're just out here having a good time. We're out in the streets a lot, you know what I mean? And things could happen, but I don't think that way. You know, I'm like a believer in like your thinking impacting life. Like if you think negatively and you always think, it's good to be cautious, but if you're putting negative thoughts and like thinking about that, I feel like that will bring that type of energy towards you. We're like happy people, and I think that's kind of the energy we try to attract. So.
Now, since you talk about headlining every tour that you've done, what are some do's and don'ts somebody watching this, maybe about to headline their own first tour? What would you say to that person? It doesn't matter if they're a rapper or singer or whatever. What are just some do's and don'ts for just a headliner?
Have
you had openers
on
your
show?
Yeah.
Okay. We've had openers. Yeah.
So you're not just the only person sometimes?
No. We always have openers. Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. And we've just like now, I'd say the last few tours have been able to like budget and get like guys who are actually pretty fucking dope. You know what I mean? Or like bring something different and cool to the show. Like we have an artist from Vancouver now who brings a live band element that I don't bring. And like a lot of headliners would be like, oh, no, you know, like, if anyone's gonna have a band, it's the headliner, like, you guys can't do that. But for us, it's just not the way I look at it. You know what I mean? I'm trying to bring, like, a full experience to somebody who bought a Mike Stud ticket. And if the fucking openers were trash, I don't think that, you know, makes, as much as it might, like, that tricky line of thinking, like, oh, well, the headliner looked way better. I just think, like, the whole thing is a package where you're trying to entertain people. And if they are entertained by your show, albeit every part of it, the opening DJ, the opening act, and then, you know, like I think it's all should be entertaining. So that's kind of what I look for. As far as my biggest advice.
Do's and don'ts for a
Do's
headliner.
and don'ts. I think it will stem for that. I mean, my biggest piece of advice or do's and don'ts, if you're headlining, it's be yourself, and it's this, like, that it stems from that. Like I've dealt with many openers, been like, man, it's cool, like you guys let us do what you guys let us rock, we get to jump in the crowd. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes with being a headliner that I think creates like a, you know, this is my show, here's the rules. Like I haven't set any rules for any of these guys outside of just going out and being the best you can be as an artist, like really truly. And I think that might be kind of a soft answer, but that's really what else? I'm trying to think. Do's and don'ts. A don't. A do would be like kind of what I was talking about earlier, making sure you stay healthy. As much as we do go crazy, and being on tour, you've done it a ton. It's just hard in general, like as a human being, even if you're not partying, to stay healthy. So, you know, if you are going to be partying, you need to understand what you need to do to be able to get on stage every night, because you get sick for 3 days, bro, you can end up, I say, a big part of business you just lost because you fucked up. You know what I mean? So that shit's important. I'd say that's probably the biggest do, is making sure you stay on top of your like health, that you're able to actually go out and get your money and like give your fans a real show.